Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Where are you from?
From here,
From Orlando? So, what do you do for a living?
I'm a high school teacher.
How long have you been doing that for?
I've been teaching at this high school for about 4 years.
What kind of education do you have?
Oh man, I have a mixed background. I went through ministry school, studied criminal justice, psychology. So
What do you love about being a teacher?
it's having the opportunity to shape and to mold young lives into being the best individuals that they could possibly be.
How much money do you think a teacher or someone can earn by being a teacher? In general.
Wow, that's a loaded question. I would say, firstly, teachers are probably the most underpaid workers that we have right now. So, with that being said, I feel like depending on what you bring to the table, a decent teacher should be making, and again, this is personal opinion, should be making anywhere between, I would say on the low end, starting at 40 a year. And that's just my personal opinion. With current living expenses and the way things are right now, I would say a month, like 3,500 or more.
How can someone get in a field like that or get a job like that?
Definitely, you have to go to school for it. Get whatever training and certification that you're able to get, especially if you're teaching in a specific field or area or craft. Depending on what it is, it can vary what kind of background is required to step into that.
What is the hardest thing being a teacher? Especially working with kids.
The hardest part about being a teacher, in my opinion, is seeing when students come in and they start the beginning of the school year off either broken in some way, some form or fashion, and knowing that that's how they're going to go home sometimes. The hardest part is seeing that they come in with low self-esteem from whatever situation, whatever their life journey has brought them through. In my opinion, that's the hardest part, is seeing that brokenness that some of them have.
What is the best advice do you have for any teacher out there or anyone who's doing that kind of job?
To current educators, regardless of what that looks like, because I know a lot of teachers who teach in public school, private school, colleges, or in different type of teaching scenarios. So I would say this covers for all educators. Kudos definitely to you, because what you're doing is not easy and definitely underappreciated. So to current educators, keep fighting the good fight and know that the hard work and the effort isn't unnoticed. And to anyone that is aspiring to be an educator, and again, that covers all types of education, I would say it's hard work, but it's worth it if you're committed and you stick to it and you go in with a passion.
What do you wish you knew before becoming a teacher?
I wish I had more skills when it came to certain types of aid that certain students need. There's certain things that I'm not trained in that going in, I wish I knew. I'm getting those trainings and things like that now, but there's certain things that I wish that I knew how to help. Certain types of specialized training, things like that. I mean, as a teacher, we can't do everything, and I know we can't specialize in everything, and that's the kind of heart that I have, is I see a student who has a particular struggle, and my heart is I want to specialize in that area so I can help that student. So, I don't know, I guess, yeah, just different skills that I didn't know that I would need to help certain students.
How do you deal with kids or students that are sometimes come to class very upset, they don't want to learn?
Those are the students that I see as the ones that are screaming for help the most. And so for those students, rather than dealing with the external problem that they're presenting, attitude behaviors, I look at those students as this is a person who is in some way, shape, or form they're hurting and they're trying to process that hurt, trying to process that pain. So with those students, I try to address the heart issue. And then when you address the heart issue with the student, then the academics will fall into line. And for me, that's been my strategy, is learn how to love each student well and individually and as a person rather than a check mark and beyond a test or a grade, because I see them more as just a test or a grade. They are a person that deserves value and that deserves compassion. So that's my strategy.
Do you think that professors or teachers get the value that they deserve or not?
Definitely not. I know that a lot of schools try, and I think a part of that value or recognition that teachers deserve, part of that comes from home. There are some parents, and I'm not speaking of anyone in particular, but there are some situations where parents leave the raising to the teacher, and that makes it a lot harder for teachers. Our job is not to raise the child, but to be an extension of home, to reinforce the standards and things like that that mom and dad teach at home. And when that doesn't happen at home, then we have a little bit more difficulty in the classroom. So that's a big thing in my opinion, is not having that support from whoever's at home.
What do you think they should do to support teachers or professors out there?
If a teacher contacts a parent or guardian saying, hey, can we have a parent meeting, and they present, hey, there's some behavioral issues that we want to address in the classroom, what will help the teacher and the student, in my opinion, is not saying, oh, that's not my kid would never. It's like, well, when your kid is here, this is what they're doing. So you're not helping your child by pretending that they don't have any flaws. They're human, we're human, we all make mistakes. And so when a parent or guardian refuses to acknowledge those things, it makes it definitely harder for the teacher. So help will be is keeping in mind your child is prone to make mistakes just like everybody else, and just because they don't make those mistakes at home doesn't mean they aren't making them elsewhere. So biggest help is see teachers as like on your team. We're here to support, we're here to be like we're just here to support at the end of the day. So we're not against the child, we're not against the student, we're trying to help them, but we can't help them when the familial support is not fully there.
What kind of education do you think someone needs to become a good teacher or professor?
Definitely, I think anyone who wants to go into teaching and to education on any arena, I feel like they need to have, like, of course, all of the basics, the same thing we all need, that we need to go through: reading, writing, arithmetic, stuff like that, current events, all of those things. But I also feel like something else that would help teachers is having intentional, like some sort of behavioral classes, not after the fact, but as a part of the education, or as a part of like the training or whatever. I found, for me personally, I find that I do lean on a lot of my personal background when I studied psychology for a while. I do find that comes in handy. Just understanding human behavior does help a lot in the classroom. Even though I'm not teaching psychology, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, I don't pretend to be, but having a little bit of background knowledge I found to be helpful. And also, like with any teacher, and I think most teachers do, be the best at your craft. If your craft is expanding and growing, then expand and grow with it.
As a teacher or professor, how do you manage your time?
Very carefully. I manage my time with setting personal boundaries. For example, I left work at home, and on my personal time, I want to make sure I'm being a good dog mom. I want to make sure that I'm being a good aunt to my nieces and nephews. I want to make time to call them when I can, or, be a good sister, be a good sibling, be a good daughter. So it's just definitely having those personal boundaries. And I'm not the best at that because sometimes I do take work home and I will work all hours of the night. But at the same time, I have to remember if I'm going to do that here, I need to make sure that I am giving myself time. Like, have moments where it's like, okay, treat yourself. Like, go get your nails done, go on a vacation, go splurge a little bit, So time management is all about personal boundaries, in my opinion.
Have you ever encountered any problem with parents, anything like that, and how do you manage that?
Yes, and like I said, my go-to strategy is not to. I never. I never look at it as me versus the parent or me versus the student. I look at it as this is a student that I care about. I want to see them succeed in all of their goals, both short term and long term. And how can I help that? And so my strategy is if the parent, for whatever reason, disagrees with something, is to find common ground, find a way to show the parent, I'm on your side. I'm not against you, I'm on your side. That's my personal strategy, and I do find that actually helps because at the end of the day, that's the truth. I'm not against the parent, I'm not against the student, but I am on their side.
As a teacher or professor, what kind of materials do you use?
I try to use a lot of stuff. I have different types of learners in the classroom. I will use different videos just to show my students here's a different perspective on the same topic. I try to use like different reading materials. I expand, like I have the curriculum, yes, but I will introduce other reading materials. I'll bring in videos. I might present a movie that is presented in a certain way to show them here's a different way of communicating or relaying a particular message. Look at how this movie is put together. I will encourage, my school to go on different field trips so they can go and see and physically experience. And I will often FaceTime other people in other professions to let my students have conversations with those individuals, so that way they can talk to someone else besides me, because I understand I'm not the end-all, be-all when it comes to information. I want them to see, there's other things out there, too. So I try to be as versatile as I can in the most helpful way that I can.
How many students do you have?
At our high school campus, we have about just under 50.
How many do you have in your classroom?
I work with all high school grades, so I work with just under 50, so from grades 9 through 12.
How do you manage 50 kids, especially psychologically? How do you manage that? What is the hardest things doing that?
The hardest part is remembering that they're all different learners. I don't look at one grade or one class as a singular unit. I look at each grade, each class, as this is a room of different people. This is different personalities. These are different perspectives on life. These are different worldviews in this classroom. These are different experiences that they come with, and these are experiences that are going to leave the room. So that's what I bring with me into the classroom is this is not one person, but these are individual people, and I want to try to address them as such to the best that I can. Difficulties and challenges I may have is if it's personal fatigue, if I'm honest. There's days where I'm just tired, or weeks where just the quarter is just a lot. And it's just oh my gosh, I just need a vacation. And so sometimes those moments will just, because I'm human, those moments will be challenging for me when I'm especially exhausted. Then it's just okay, I just got to get through the day, and I just kind of go on autopilot. So for me, my personal challenge is I don't want to live on autopilot because my students don't deserve that, and I don't ever want to give them autopilot. So that's what I find for me. And so I combat that by keeping my classrooms different. I try to have little, not spontaneous things, but different activities, different elements just to kind of keep me engaged. And I think that helps keep my students engaged too.
What is your favorite subject and why?
I really enjoy teaching, not teaching, but, I'll say two. I deeply enjoy studying psychology, and I deeply enjoy studying ancient history, ancient civilizations is something that I really love to study and pull out whatever I can from that. In my classroom where I teach, if I can paraphrase all of the classes in one, I teach biblical apologetics, and I find that to be challenging and rewarding at the same time because we get to have real life conversations, and it's not all about if you don't believe what I believe then you're going to fail, but it's about having real conversations and having those tough conversations and really like fleshing those things out in the classroom. It's really fun to see and hear those different worldviews, those different perspectives, and then we talk through them and role play different scenarios and things like that. So
Why would you suggest someone to becoming a professor or a teacher?
I would say definitely if you have the patience for it and the passion for it, then I would say pursue it. But also I look at it as instead of looking at the youth and writing them off, as I know it's very tempting to do in some cases, I look at them again as cliche as it is, yes, they are the future, but these are lives, or individual people. And if I can impact one person's life in a positive direction, that person, their sphere of influence may be greater than mine. So whatever positive impact I have on one person, that one person can influence 50 people. Those 50 people individually will influence 100 people. So I look at the classroom as an opportunity to impact generations to come.
You look very confident. Why are you so confident like that?
I've always been a teacher at heart, and it's something that I love to do. No matter where I am or how that looks, I've always, in some capacity, been teaching. So in one job or another, that's just the roles that I've entered into. So now that I'm doing this, to me, this is just I'm in my element, if you will. I'm in my element. I love it, and I really do enjoy seeing my students go from point A to point B. I love seeing the process. So to me, I'm all about it.
What steps do you take daily to boost your confidence?
Daily steps. I definitely don't start my day without the Lord. I know a lot of people may disagree with that, but that's, for them. But for me, that's what works for me. And so I definitely try to start my day off with giving thanks to the Lord for every breath that I have. I keep in mind each and every day that it's another opportunity. I look at every day as an opportunity to achieve, to grow, to expand, to learn. And I want to communicate and relay that when I'm in the classroom, that this is an opportunity to achieve, to grow, to expand, to learn, to express myself. And that's how I present and pursue each day.
What is the best life advice do you have for anyone out there?
The best life advice is, did you learn to love? Did you learn to, by the end of each day, did you grow in love or did you grow in tolerance? I believe there's a difference between love and just tolerance. And at the end of the day, I want to be the person that grows in love, because real love will say, I love you enough to say, like, hey, stop, that's harmful to you, as opposed to tolerance, which is like turning a blind eye for the sake of personal comfort or the sake of avoiding being confrontational, things like that. So I want to be the person that grows in true love, no matter the cost. For any teachers that are out there, again, kudos to you for making it through the whole school year. It's been a long school year, and if you don't hear it or if you haven't heard it recently, I'm proud of the work that you have done, and I hope to encourage you in your craft. I hope to encourage you in your classroom, regardless of what grade you teach or regardless of what you teach. To all educators out there, thank you for what you do, and it's very much appreciated.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for that interview.